U.S. Citizenship Test 2025. Citizenship Interview Practice and English Conversation.
Welcome back to Pathway to Citizenship, the talk show where we make the journey to becoming an American citizen not just educational, but joyful. I'm Anne, your host, and with me today is my favorite guest, Mark, who's been studying hard for his citizenship test. Mark, how's the studying going?
Well, Anne, I'd say it's a roller coaster. Some days I feel like I could teach the Constitution, and other days I forget what year it was written.
1787, just in case you forget again, but that's actually perfect for today's topic, celebrating progress and little victories along the way. Because, Mark, you're not alone in that feeling.
I hope not. Sometimes I look at those 100 civics questions and think, how do people memorize all this?
That's the trap. The citizenship test isn't about memorization. It's about connection. Every question tells a story about how this country grew, and every answer you learn is a small victory. It's like collecting puzzle pieces of America.
That's a nice way to look at it. I guess I should be proud when I remember even one or two pieces.
Exactly. Think of it like climbing a mountain. You don't wait to celebrate only when you reach the top. You stop along the way, take a breath, enjoy the view, and say, I made it this far. Even remembering that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, that's a step closer to your goal.
When you put it that way, I feel a little less guilty for rewarding myself with a donut every time I study.
Perfect. Donuts are patriotic in my book. But seriously, celebrating progress builds motivation. The test isn't just about the day you take it. It's about every day you prepare. Every flashcard, every answer, every English sentence you practice. It's all growth.
I've actually noticed that. I used to be terrified of speaking English, but now I catch myself thinking in English sometimes.
That's a huge milestone. Thinking in English means you're internalizing it. You're not just learning facts, you're living them. For instance, when you think about freedom of speech, you're not just recalling words, you're feeling what that means in daily life.
Yeah, like the idea that I can say what I believe without fear. That really hits home for me. In my old country, that wasn't always safe.
And that's what makes your journey beautiful, Mark. Every question on that test connects to someone's personal story. What is freedom of religion? That's about the right to pray or not pray. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence? That's about voices who dared to speak up. When you study, you're not memorizing names, you're joining a legacy.
Wow, I've never thought of it like that. You make history feel alive.
Because it is. History is made of people who believed they could change their world, and now it's your turn to add your chapter. So when you remember even one question, like, who was the first president, and say George Washington with confidence, that's not just a correct answer. That's your voice joining the American story.
You're making me want to celebrate my next quiz already.
And you should. The journey to citizenship is a long road, but it's paved with tiny celebrations. Every time you say a U.S. holiday correctly, or remember that we elect a president for 4 years, you're building not just knowledge, but identity.
You know, I think I'll start keeping a victory notebook. Every time I get something right, I'll write it down.
I love that idea. You'll look back one day and realize how far you've come. And that's the secret to staying motivated. Not focusing on how far you still have to go, but how much you've already achieved.
Then here's my first entry. Today, I remembered the Constitution was written in 1787, and I deserve another donut.
Make it 2, future citizen. You've earned it. So, Mark, last time we talked about celebrating little victories. Now I want to talk about how to turn those small wins into momentum. Because progress isn't just about effort, it's about energy.
That's true. I sometimes feel like I'm running out of steam halfway through my study sessions, especially when I hit the tricky questions. Like, what does the judicial branch do? I know the answer. It reviews laws. But my brain just goes blank sometimes.
That's completely normal. You know what helps? Turning that moment into a game. Instead of saying, I forgot, say, okay, brain, time for a rematch. Treat each mistake like a challenger, not a failure.
I like that. Makes it feel less like school and more like a competition with myself.
Exactly. Every time you get one more right than yesterday, you've already won. And remember, those 100 civics questions cover centuries of history. You're learning in a few months what took generations to build.
Wow, when you put it like that, I'm practically a time traveler.
You are. You're visiting 1776, the Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement, all in your notebook. Each question is a window into a moment of courage or change. For example, what did Martin Luther King Jr. do? Isn't just about civil rights, it's about persistence, the same kind you're showing by studying every day.
That's inspiring. You make studying sound heroic.
It is. Becoming a citizen is an act of courage. It's saying, I believe in this community enough to become part of it. And every correct answer, like remembering that the president is the commander-in-chief of the military, is one more sign of commitment.
You know, I used to feel embarrassed when I didn't understand a question. But now I think, hey, I'm learning in my second language. That's something to be proud of too.
Absolutely. You're doing double the work of anyone born here. You're learning history and English. That's a victory worth shouting from the rooftops, or at least from your living room.
My neighbors might not appreciate that, but I'll keep it in my heart.
Good compromise. But seriously, Mark, one of the best parts of this journey is that every small success adds up. You don't need to wait until you pass the test to feel proud. You're already achieving something incredible.
I think I get that now. Like when I first learned to drive, I didn't celebrate only when I got my license. I celebrated the first time I didn't stall at a stop sign.
Perfect analogy. Learning the citizenship material is just like that. You'll stumble at first, maybe mix up the Bill of Rights and the Declaration of Independence, but one day you'll glide through them with ease. And when you do, remember, you didn't just memorize words, you built understanding.
You know, my daughter asked me the other day, "Dad, what's the rule of law?" And I got to explain it to her. I said, "It means everyone must follow the law, even the president." And she said, "Even me." And I said, "Especially you."
That's a wonderful teaching moment. You see, you're already living like a citizen. Sharing what you learn is one of the best ways to celebrate progress. When you explain a concept, you're proving mastery.
So maybe I should start teaching my friends who are studying too. We could quiz each other.
That's brilliant. Learning together makes it easier and more joyful. You'll be surprised how motivating it is to celebrate others' progress too. It's like a citizenship team, everyone climbing the same mountain, cheering each other along.
That's exactly what I need. It's hard to stay motivated when you study alone.
Well, consider this your study circle, Mark. Every time you join me here, we're celebrating together. And when you finally pass, and you will, we'll look back and say, it wasn't just about the test. It was about every small victory that brought you here.
That actually makes me emotional, Anne, because for the first time, I feel like I'm not just studying, I'm transforming.
You are. Every time you say, we the people, you're reminding yourself that you're part of something bigger. You're becoming not just a citizen on paper, but in heart, mind, and voice.
Then I'll keep celebrating every step, even the small ones.
That's the spirit, Mark, because every small step is America in motion.
The heart behind the citizenship questions, United States. English for Citizenship Test 2025.
Welcome back to Pathway to Citizenship. Mark, last time we talked about celebrating small victories, those little aha moments that make the study process enjoyable. Today, let's talk about something just as important, turning your practice into purpose.
That sounds intriguing. What do you mean by that exactly?
Well, many students approach the citizenship test as something they just need to get through. They memorize the 100 questions, repeat them over and over, and hope for the best. But the ones who really succeed, the ones who walk into that interview smiling, are the ones who study with purpose.
Purpose. Like understanding why I'm doing this, not just what I'm supposed to say.
Exactly. Let me give you an example. Take the question, what is the rule of law? The official answer is simple. Everyone must follow the law. But when you study that with purpose, you realize it's not just a rule, it's a promise. It means that no matter who you are, rich or poor, citizen or president, the same law applies to everyone. That's equality in action.
That actually gives me chills. I guess when I think about the law back in my country, it wasn't always fair, so that question hits home.
And that's the power of purpose. When you attach your own experiences to these ideas, the answers stop being trivia. They become part of your story.
You know, I've been memorizing, but I haven't been connecting. It's like I'm reading a song without hearing the melody.
That's a beautiful analogy, Mark. Think of each question as a note in America's song. When you learn what freedom of religion or self-government really mean, you're learning the rhythm of democracy.
So even when I practice the short questions, I should try to feel their meaning?
Yes. For instance, when you say, "We elect a president for 4 years," imagine the rhythm of democracy ticking 4 years at a time. Or when you answer, "The Constitution is the supreme law of the land," picture it as the foundation holding the whole country up.
That actually makes studying more exciting. It feels alive.
That's the goal. Purpose turns pressure into pride. And here's a secret. Officers can feel that energy. When you answer with understanding, your confidence shines through, even if your accent shows or you pause for a second.
That's comforting. I used to worry my accent might make me sound unsure.
Oh no, Mark, your accent tells your story. It says, "I came from somewhere, and now I'm building a new chapter here." That's something to celebrate.
So instead of hiding it, I should own it.
Exactly. You're not trying to sound like anyone else. You're trying to sound like yourself, someone who understands what becoming a citizen means. And when you practice with that purpose, every session becomes meaningful.
I think I finally get it, Anne. The test isn't just checking what I know, it's checking who I've become.
Perfectly said. Every question is a reflection of your growth, your courage, and your connection to America's values. When you study with that in mind, you're not just practicing, you're living the answers.
Anne, I have to admit something. Sometimes I feel like my brain just gives up halfway through the questions. I mix up dates or names. Like I'll say Jefferson when I mean Washington. It's embarrassing.
Oh, Mark, that's more common than you think. Our brains love to play tricks when we're under pressure, but there's a way to make remembering easier and more fun.
I'm listening. If there's a trick that doesn't involve staring at flashcards until midnight, I'm in.
Don't worry. My method is called the story chain. Instead of memorizing facts, you build mini stories that connect them. Let's try it. Who wrote the Declaration of Independence?
Thomas Jefferson.
Right. Now, imagine Jefferson sitting in a room with a quill pen, surrounded by papers, writing words that would change history. Next, think about July 4th, 1776, the day it was adopted. Imagine fireworks outside that window, even though they didn't have fireworks then.
So, by visualizing it, I make the memory stick.
Exactly. And you can link ideas too. For example, Jefferson wrote the Declaration which declared independence from Great Britain. Who was the first president after that?
George Washington.
Perfect. So your brain makes a chain. Jefferson wrote the Declaration, independence followed, and Washington became the first leader of the new nation. The story keeps everything connected.
That's actually brilliant. I'm already seeing the timeline more clearly.
You can do it with any set of questions. Let's try one about rights. What are 2 rights of everyone living in the United States?
freedom of speech, and freedom of religion.
Great. Now imagine two people, one standing on a street corner speaking freely and another praying quietly in a church or choosing not to. That visual anchors the meaning.
It's like giving life to the answers.
Exactly. Your brain loves stories because it evolved to remember experiences, not lists. So when you turn facts into experiences, recall becomes natural.
That's probably why I remember the stories you tell on this show better than the textbook examples.
Of course, facts are dry, stories are sticky. You can even use rhythm. Try saying, 1776, independence sticks. That rhyme will pop up in your mind when you need it.
I'm definitely going to use that. Maybe I'll make my own little chants.
Please do. The more playful you make it, the more your brain engages. You're not just memorizing, you're building mental landmarks.
You know, Anne, this makes studying feel less like cramming and more like storytelling.
That's because it is storytelling. The U.S. Citizenship Test isn't just a list of facts. It's the story of how freedom, law, and courage built a nation. You're simply learning to tell that story in your own words.
Wow, I never thought of it that way. Every answer I give is a line in America's story.
Exactly. And by remembering it with heart, you'll never forget it with your head.
I'm going to start tonight with a notebook, some drawings, maybe a few silly rhymes.
Perfect. Make it creative, make it personal, make it yours. That's how you turn memory into meaning.
Thanks, Anne. I think studying just became a lot more enjoyable.
That's the goal, Mark. Because every story you learn brings you one step closer to your own American chapter. And that's something worth remembering.
U.S. Citizenship Test 2025 United States. Confidence to belong. English interview and civics practice.
Welcome back to Pathway to Citizenship. Mark, we've talked about the joy of learning and the meaning behind the questions. But now it's time for the last stretch, building confidence for the interview itself.
I've been waiting for this part. I can study the facts all day, but when it comes to speaking in front of the officer, my confidence just evaporates.
Totally understandable. But here's the good news. Confidence is a skill, not a personality trait. It's something you practice, just like the civics questions.
Really? Because sometimes it feels like confidence is something people are born with.
Not at all. Confidence grows through small wins, the same ones we've been celebrating all along. Every time you remember that the Constitution was written in 1787 or that we the people are the first three words, you're not just memorizing, you're building trust in yourself.
That makes sense. It's like training a muscle.
Exactly. And here's a simple trick. When you sit down with the officer, think of it as a friendly conversation, not an interrogation.
That's easy for you to say. You're the teacher.
True, but I've sat beside many students who passed, and you know what they all had in common? They talked with the officer, not at them. They used tone, warmth, and a smile. For example, if the officer asks, What is freedom of religion? You can say, it means people can choose their religion or none at all. That small addition shows understanding.
So I can expand my answers a bit?
As long as it's natural, yes. The officer is looking for comprehension, not memorization. If you sound like a human instead of a robot, you'll do great.
I like that. It turns the interview into a dialogue, not a test.
Exactly. And that's what citizenship is, a dialogue between you and the country. When you speak clearly and sincerely, you're already showing the qualities of a citizen.
That actually makes me feel calmer. Like the officer isn't the enemy, they're just listening for my story.
Right. Think of it as your moment to show pride in what you've learned. Every answer you give is a sentence in your story of becoming American.
That's a powerful image. I guess confidence isn't about being fearless. It's about being connected to your purpose.
Well said, Mark. When you remember why you're there, to join, to contribute, to belong, your confidence finds its footing automatically.
Anne, I've been thinking about what you said, that the test is really a conversation. Can we talk about what that conversation is about? Because it's not just trivia, is it?
You're absolutely right. The citizenship test is, at its heart, a conversation about values. Each question opens a door into what America stands for. For instance, what is the rule of law? Isn't just a legal concept, it's a moral one. It means no one, not even the president, is above the law.
That's a big idea. When I studied that one, I thought, wow, this is what fairness really looks like.
Exactly. And when you understand the spirit behind the questions, you start to see how they connect to everyday life. For example, why does the flag have 50 stars? Seems simple, but it's about unity. 50 different states working together.
So, it's less about remembering facts and more about remembering what those facts represent.
Yes. Take what is one promise you make when you become a citizen. You might say, to be loyal to the United States. But that's not just words. It's a commitment to participate, to vote, to care about your community.
It's funny, because when I first started studying, I saw these questions as a mountain to climb, but now they feel like pieces of a story about responsibility and belonging.
And that's the transformation every applicant goes through. You start with the fear of forgetting, but you end with the pride of understanding. The more you see meaning, the more you sound authentic.
I actually experienced that the other day. My daughter asked me, who was the father of our country? And I told her, George Washington, because he helped unite people who disagreed. I realized I wasn't just quoting the book, I was teaching it.
That's beautiful, Mark. That's the exact moment you stop being a student and start becoming a citizen. When the knowledge turns into wisdom, you can share.
So when I'm in the interview, maybe I can remind myself that these questions aren't just about the past. They're about the values I'm joining.
Exactly. You're not memorizing history. You're inheriting it. The officer isn't testing whether you can repeat facts. They're listening to see if you believe them.
That's actually inspiring. I feel like each question now carries a deeper weight.
And that's the best kind of preparation, the one that comes from understanding, not fear. Once you feel the meaning behind the questions, the answers stay with you forever. Well, Mark, here we are, our final segment. We've celebrated progress, explored purpose, practiced confidence, and found meaning. Now, let's talk about the finish line, what it feels like to become a citizen.
Just thinking about that day gives me goosebumps. I picture standing in the ceremony, right hand raised, saying the oath of allegiance.
That's one of the most beautiful moments anyone can experience. You'll look around and see people from every corner of the world, different faces, different stories, all united by one promise.
Yeah, it's amazing how everyone's journey is unique, but we all end up in that same room, saying the same words.
Exactly. And that's what the citizenship journey teaches. It's not about where you started, but what you're building toward. The test is just a doorway. The real journey begins after you walk through it.
You know, I think this whole process has changed me more than I expected. I started out just wanting to pass, but now I actually feel connected to this country.
That's what I love to hear. The process helps you see America not as a perfect nation, but as a shared project, one that needs new voices and fresh perspectives.
That's true. I used to think citizenship was just paperwork. Now I see its participation.
Exactly. It's saying, I want to help shape the future. When you vote, volunteer, or even explain the flag to your child, you're living your citizenship.
It's funny. You spend months studying about freedom, justice, and rights, but the real lesson is about contribution.
Absolutely. Citizenship is a verb. It's something you do, not something you just get. And you've already started doing it, Mark. Every time you share what you've learned, every time you explain the meaning behind a question, you're being an active participant in democracy.
That's a wonderful thought. I used to be afraid of not fitting in, but now I see that being American isn't about fitting. It's about joining the chorus.
Beautifully said. And your voice will add a new note to that chorus. You're not replacing who you were, you're expanding it.
You know, Anne, when I walk into that interview now, I won't be thinking, what if I fail? I'll be thinking, what if I finally get to share my story?
That's the spirit, and that story, your story, is exactly what America was built on. People with dreams, courage, and the willingness to grow.
Thank you, Anne. You've helped me see that the U.S. Citizenship Test isn't just an exam. It's a mirror that shows who I've become along the way.
And that's the most important test of all. So, Mark, when you raise your hand at the ceremony, remember, those words aren't the end of your journey. They're the beginning of a new chapter.
I'll remember that, and I'll keep celebrating the small victories, even after I take the oath.
Perfect. Because citizenship, like life, is built one small victory at a time. Congratulations in advance, Mark. You've earned it, not just with your answers, but with your heart.
Thank you, Anne. And thank you for reminding me that the real success isn't in passing the test, it's in discovering what those questions mean to me.
Exactly, my friend. That's what Pathway to Citizenship is all about. Learning to celebrate not just the destination, but every step along the way.
Then here's to the journey, the lessons, and the little victories that made it all possible.
And here's to your new beginning, Mark, and to everyone listening who's walking their own pathway to citizenship. Believe in your story, study with purpose, and always celebrate your progress, because every answer you learn brings you one step closer to belonging.
Well said, Anne. And next time we meet, I'll be saying those words as an American citizen.
I'll be waiting to celebrate with you, Mark. Welcome almost to your new home.
Almost home. That sounds pretty perfect.
It is, and you've earned every bit of it.